Hey, welcome to Firescale Audiobooks. If you enjoy our audiobooks, please consider subscribing to the channel. Also, feel free to share your review in the comments section below.
The mathematics teacher knew the Gu family's parents. They were even more protective than Gu Qian, but they would still talk to the school. Point 2. Don't be anxious. Why get to the bottom of the matter? I will definitely deal with it impartially. The mathematics teacher pulled the few hairs on his head. Point 2. That's good. Gu Qian smiled. I believe that with Teacher Li around, the matter will definitely be handled perfectly, too. Of course, too. Xiaoling was scolded by the class teacher and told to go back to class. Zhou Xiaozhu was left to talk. Xiaoling had just left the office when she saw Gu Qian waiting for her in the corridor. Xiaoling walked towards him. Before she reached him, Gu Qian suddenly started to walk forward. His legs were very long, and he walked at a moderate pace. His speed was also very fast. Point 2. Xiaoling could not keep up with him. She almost trotted, barely keeping up with Gu Qian's pace. Looking at his back, Xiaoling felt a little sad thinking of the sequence of the plot and the gap between Gu Qian and her. Point 2. Why was she the one who had to bear everything, too? It must be known that when Gu Qian took care of Jing Shi, this sister of his, Jing Shi never knew that Gu Qian walked with the wind so fast. He accommodated her in every way, always walking on her left side to protect her. But now, Xiaoling's favored treatment was all gone. Point 2. Gu Qian's figure was tall, and he wore a school uniform. He walked in the corridor in the sun. His eyes were indifferent and gentle, and his temperament was like a top student from a school from an anime. Point 2. Xiaoling followed him and stared at him from the side. That handsome and gentle chin, that cold and indifferent side profile. Gu Qian looked perfect no matter how she looked at him, but it was too perfect. Xiaoling couldn't find a topic to talk to him about at all. After passing through the grade corridor of grade 12, Gu Qian finally stopped at the staircase of grade 12. Grade 11 was on the 4th floor, grade 12 was on the 5th floor. Point 2. Gu Qian was about to go upstairs. Xiaoling did not have any more excuses to continue chasing after him. Xiaoling stood where she was and watched Gu Qian walk up the stairs step by step. She wanted to see him off. However, Gu Qian walked up the stairs and suddenly stopped at the corner. For the sake of our past friendship, this is the last time I will help you. Gu Qian's expression was cold. His gaze fell on Xiaoling for a moment before he went straight up the stairs. Xiaoling could no longer see him. Point 2. What did he mean by their past friendship? Xiaoling raised her eyebrows. Point 2. If it was really for the sake of their past friendship, Gu Qian would not have come out at all. He must have been happy because he saw that her teacher had made things difficult for her, and she was in trouble. Point 2. Although she had never interacted with Gu Qian before, Xiaoling had some understanding of Gu Qian's personality through the plot. It was true that he liked Jing Shi, but Gu Qian's personality was even more vengeful. In his heart, he also hated Jing Shi. Therefore, when Jing Shi was in difficulties with her teacher, he would look on coldly from the side. Point 2. However, in his twisted personality, Jing Shi was Gu Qian's private property. Only Gu Qian could bully her. To sum it up, Gu Qian helped Xiaoling today because Xiaoling admitted the relationship between Gu Qian and herself in front of everyone. She beat up Zhou Xiaozhu for him, and then angrily scolded the math teacher, which made Gu Qian feel happy. In the first confrontation, Xiaoling could be said to have won a complete victory. She didn't lower her head, but she interacted with Gu Qian. Dusk after school. The day students rode their bikes and set off on their way home. The figures in 2s and 3s were all lively and cheerful. There were 2 elongated figures, but in this lively atmosphere, they seemed out of place. Xiaoling clumsily rode her bike, looking as if she could fall at any time. And in front of her, Gu Qian was riding a bike. His figure was tall and neat. He had no intention of waiting for anyone, but the young girl chased after him with difficulty and perseverance. She wanted to get back her sister's treatment and stop Gu Qian from turning evil. She was destined to suffer a little. In the evening wind, Xiaoling raised her head and looked at Gu Qian. Although he did not look at her, his speed on the bike would not be so slow. Ouch! Xiaoling's hand loosened, and the bike crashed into a tree by the roadside. Point 2. The bike crashed into the tree, and with a clang, the rebound made Xiaoling's hand go numb. The bike fell to the side, and she directly jumped off at point 2. Hearing the sound behind him, Gu Qian's pupils constricted. The bicycle brake was tightened, and there was a screech. Gu Qian put one foot on the ground and lowered his eyes, looking indifferent again. Xiaoling fell on the ground. She took a deep breath and quietly glanced at Gu Qian again. In the twilight, Gu Qian sat on his bike, his figure elongated by the sunset point 2. He stopped for a long time, so long that Xiaoling thought he would turn back. Gu Qian moved, riding the car and going forward on his own. The long legs kicked down hard, and after a few rounds, Xiaoling could no longer see his car and his figure. 10,000 divine beasts galloped in her heart point 2. The system laughed and spoke coldly point 2. Host, it's rare. Your bitter meat trick can't be sold, too. Hearing the system gloating, Xiaoling patted the dust off her body and said casually, if you can't sell it, then don't sell it. What's there to be happy about, too? The system stopped laughing. Thinking about it carefully, Xiaoling had failed the mission, and it didn't have any benefits, so why was it laughing? Asterisk. At night, Xiaoling sat behind the desk in front of the window. The table lamp was lit with a faint yellow light, and the girl was wearing a white dress with a thin sling. Under the light, her white shoulders gave off a warm luster point 2. Her expression when she was doing her homework was also extremely serious. The breeze blew past and lifted the curtains. Gu Qian could see her very clearly. Xiaoling found an angle and deliberately sat there. The windows of the two houses were facing each other, and there was only a small fence in the middle of the villa. She wanted him to see her. Gu Qian's slender fingertips turned the pen and held his head. This posture was one that meant he would never look at the other side point 2. But every time the curtains were rolled up by the wind, Gu Qian's vision could not be controlled, and he had to look at the other side. The girl's figure was like a willow branch that drooped into the lake. When the curtains blew, the girl's figure also left ripples in the lake in his heart. He shouldn't care about her anymore. In the past, he had taken care of her like a sister, but in exchange, she had become distant and indifferent. Now, he didn't know what trick she was playing. If he was so easily fooled, wouldn't she be bullying him, Gu Qian, as a fool, too? It was rare for Gu Qian to be in a trance so many times point 2. It wasn't until the table lamp across from him was turned off and he was probably done with his homework, ready to wash up and fall asleep, that Gu Qian suddenly woke up. He suddenly came back to his senses and lowered his head. He saw that he was supposed to finish the examination paper in 30 minutes, but he hadn't written a single word. When he looked at the time again, he had already sat behind his desk for a full hour and a half. Good night, Gu Qian, too. A text message lit up on the phone screen on his desk. The sender's number was a number that he had memorized but had already deleted previously. He raised his head and looked at the opposite side. The cold girl stood behind the desk and looked at him quietly with a smile. When she saw him looking at her, she raised her hand and waved the mobile phone that was lit up in her hand. When he looked at the girl, Gu Qian instantly thought of the girl and Gao Xingyang walking side by side. Gu Qian's expression instantly turned cold. With a swish, he pulled the curtains point 2. The opposite curtains did not move for a whole night. After she made a call, they were closed point 2. Xiaoling's face hurt. Gu Qian did not give her any face at all. TSK, TSK. The devil really has a personality this time. I like it, too. Unsurprisingly, the system was throwing stones at her when she was down. Xiaoling did not want to pay attention to it. She went to pull the curtains, locked the door, washed herself, and went to sleep point 2. Host, how does it feel to be rejected when you strike up a conversation? Tell me, let me be happy. In the darkness, the system asked with a smile point 2. Huh. It was the sound of the system being blocked point 2. Xiaoling's world finally stopped, and it was quiet. Asterisk. Gu Qian's resentment towards the host was obviously not something that Xiaoling could get over just by acting cute and acting coquettishly. On the one hand, she had to conquer Gu Qian, and on the other hand, she had to maintain the personality of the host as an introverted girl. Xiaoling calculated in her heart and fell asleep point 2. The next day, the alarm rang at 5:30. Quickly packing her things, Xiaoling rode her bike and waited at the entrance of the Gu residence. She waited until 5:50. If she didn't go to school, she would be late. Father Gu came out of the villa and looked at Xia Ling in surprise. Xiao Shi, are you waiting for Xiao Qian to go to school together? But Xiao Qian has already left. It's been quite a while. 2. Xiao Ling 02. Gu Qian had always left at 5:40 p.m. This time, he had suddenly left early. He must have deliberately avoided her. Thank you, Uncle Gu. Maybe I woke up late and didn't wait for him. Well, Uncle Gu, I'll be leaving now. Xiaoling got on her bike and left quickly. Point 2. Under the sunlight, her figure on the bike looked like a sunflower chasing the sun. Father Gu narrowed his eyes and sighed. Asterisk. In the past, Gu Qian would ride the bicycle with the girl. Breakfast was always served at a tofu pudding stall near the school. Point 2. Gu Qian liked to drink tofu pudding, a bowl that was braised until tender was sprinkled with sugar. He could drink 2 bowls of tofu pudding and a few steam buns. Xiao Ling rode in the direction of the school. When she passed by the tofu pudding stall, she took a second look but did not see Gu Qian. Point 2. Little girl, your brother left long ago. You're late today. 2. The tofu pudding stall owner was very warm-hearted. Even though Jing Shi and Gu Qian had quarreled and they had not left together for more than a month, every time he saw Jing Shi and Gu Qian, he would still smile and tell them about the other party's news. Thank you, boss, Xiaoling said loudly. Point 2. In the past, Jing Shi wished she could walk around this tofu pudding stall. Point 2. But now, Xiaoling was extremely grateful to this tofu pudding stall owner. When she was with Gu Qian, she would definitely buy this place, buy all the tofu pudding, and add chicken legs for the stall owner, too. She rode her bike to the school, and she passed through the school gate at the last second. Point 2. Behind Xiaoling, the unlucky one had already been recorded. President, 2. She rode her bike to the school parking lot, and behind her was the voice of the discipline inspection department at the school gate. Xiaoling turned around to take a look. Gu Qian was standing beside the discipline inspection department member, but he was looking at her. Point 2. Her gaze met Gu Qian's eyes. His expression was calm, but his eyes were dark, as if he was secretly angry at her. Point 2. Why was he angry at her? Xiaoling frowned slightly and rode her bike to the parking lot. When she came out of the parking lot, she saw the boy waiting for her at the intersection. Xiaoling had found a reason for Gu Qian's anger. Point 2. Xiao Shi, wait a minute. A tall figure walked towards Xiaoling too. He was wearing a basketball team uniform and looked like an iron tower. He was holding a box in his hand, which was obviously for Xiaoling. Xiaoling looked at the box again. It was a white foam box, and there seemed to be steamed dumplings in it. She knew at a glance that it was from the tofu flower stall. Point 2. I heard that you like to eat tofu flowers from this house, so I went to buy them early in the morning. I even bought steamed dumplings for you. Eat them while they're hot. 2. Gao Xingyang handed the box to Xiaoling. As they spoke, the two of them went to a corner. Gao Xingyang smiled and scratched his head as he used his tall figure to hide the girl from others. I didn't know you liked steamed dumplings. I happened to run into President Gu and asked him about it, too. He even asked Gu Qian. Xiaoling's heart was filled with a shadow. That was enough. This was really godlike manipulation. Gao Xingyang was not as good-looking as Gu Qian, but he was at least 1.9 meters tall. He was an expert and was a star on the basketball court. He even had countless fans. Point 2. He liked Jing Shi and was full of enthusiasm for her. From the beginning to the end, Gao Shangyang treated Jing Shi very well. In order to distance herself from Gu Qian, Jing Shi agreed to be with Gao Shangyang. She did not want her relationship with Gao Shangyang to be known by others. Usually, Gao Shangyang would stay far away from her. He would come to her in private and bring her breakfast, fruit, and milk. It was all done in secret. To be honest, Gao Xingyang was a very good boyfriend. Unfortunately, Jing Shi liked Gu Qian, and Xiaoling only wanted her devil, Gao Xingyang. Xiaoling looked at the tall boy in front of her. Point 2. He could tell something from her dark eyes. Point 2. Don't talk to me. I don't want to hear it. Gao Xingyang took a step back and handed the warm breakfast to Xiaoling too. Eat your breakfast. My basketball team still has training. He suddenly hugged Xiaoling and turned to leave, not giving Xiaoling a chance to speak at all. Point 2. The refreshing smell of soap rushed over, and before Xiaoling could struggle, he let go. I'm leaving first, too. Xiaoling could feel Gao Xingyang's nervousness and sadness. As she watched him leave in a hurry, Xiaoling's anger had dissipated before she could feel it. From the beginning to the end, what did Gao Xingyang do wrong? He was always used by Jing Shi, and in the end, he was even dismembered by Gu Qian.2. Xiaoling's emotions were a little turbulent. This was the first time she had failed to issue a kindness card, but that was how things were. She could not force matters of the heart, and she still had to explain things clearly to Gao Xingyang. With breakfast in her arms, Xiaoling walked out from the corner. She had only taken a few steps when she felt a strong sense of being watched. At that moment, Murphy's Law came to Xiaoling's mind again. Point 2. If there was one thing, the worst outcome you could think of, then that was the most likely thing to happen to you. Point 2. Taking a light breath, Xiaoling looked up and unconsciously clenched her fists. Asterisk, under the shade of the trees, next to the flower bed. Gu Qian stood there as if he had been there for a long time. Point 2. From his perspective, he could see everything that had happened between Xiaoling and Gao. Shongyang in the corner. His eyes were as cold as ice. He looked at Xiaoling, turned around, and left. Point 2. Yo, host, you're done. Before the system's voice could be heard, it was directly blocked by Xiaoling too. He exhaled heavily, as if he wanted to vent out all the pent-up air in his lungs. The development of the matter was even worse. Seeing that her relationship with Gu Qian was getting better, she was hit back to the freezing point, which made Gu Qian even gloomier. Point 2. The ice that Gu Qian had loosened for her seemed to have frozen again. Xiaoling really didn't have the strength to complain. Asterisk, during the class break, Xiaoling waited for the students to disperse before she went to find Gu Qian. She followed him openly, at a distance that was neither too far nor too close. She was like a tail, following behind Gu Qian. Wherever Gu Qian went, she would go. Gu Qian pretended that she did not exist at the beginning, but it was really strange for her to be like this. He had already brought her around the entire campus, but she still followed him. It was likely that half of the people in the school would see their strange behavior. Tomorrow, the teacher would inform the parents, saying that they were in a puppy-love relationship. Turning around, he saw the cold girl following behind him. The way she followed him, neither too far nor too close. Gu Qian thought of the way she hugged the boy from the basketball team, and his frustration rose. Jing Shi, why are you following me, too? The dark emotions could swallow everything. Gu Qian stared at Xiaoling, his deep eyes filled with frustration. Xiaoling said confidently, "This campus isn't yours either. Wherever I want to go, it has nothing to do with you, too. Okay, if you want to follow me, then follow me." Gu Qian's expression became even darker, and he turned around to leave. Point 2. Thus, he went straight to the student union, with Xiaoling still following behind him. When he reached the student union building, Xiaoling followed him in. Point 2. Hello, may I know who you're looking for? The people from the Discipline Inspection Department stopped Xiaoling too. Xiaoling looked at Gu Qian, who was walking in front of her. He clearly did not have the intention to turn around and speak up for her. Thus, Xiaoling said, "I'm looking for Gao Shangyang from the basketball department." "Thank you, too." "Okay." The people from the Discipline Inspection Department looked at Gu Qian and lowered their heads to help Xiaoling register. Point 2. Gu Qian did not stop, but Xiaoling clearly saw that his body stopped for a moment, and his hands were clenched tightly by his side. Point 2. "Host, you're courting death. It's over. The devil is about to lose control, and this mission interface is going to be ruined. What on earth are you doing, too?" In her mind, the system beeped twice, which was the sound of a danger alert. Point 2. Gu Qian was already on the verge of losing control. He could explode at any time. "Didn't you want me to fail the mission? Why are you panicking?" Xiaoling was calm. Point 2. "The system, because I don't want to die, too." "Oh, then just watch obediently." Xiaoling replied. Point 2. After registering for the basketball department, Xiaoling did not go to the basketball department. She went upstairs and followed behind Gu Qian. Point 2. Gu Qian heard the footsteps behind him and knew that Xiaoling was still following him. His tightly clenched hands loosened, but his brows were tightly knitted together again. He was a little annoyed. Point 2. The student union and the basketball department were both on the third floor. One was on the left, and the other was on the right point too. When they reached the third floor, Xiaoling finally had no reason to follow Gu Qian anymore. Gu Qian slowed down his footsteps. His thin lips mocked, and he went straight to the student union. If Xiaoling continued to follow him, he would mock her. Wasn't the campus huge? Why was she still walking on the same path as him? 2. Gu Qian, I have something to say to you. Behind him, Xiaoling finally called out to him, but the content was a little different from what Gu Qian had thought. 2. I don't want to hear it. Gu Qian stopped in his tracks. Point 2. His agitated emotions calmed down, but he had no intention of turning back. He had already abandoned her. Even if she came back, he wouldn't be the same person as before. He was the one who didn't want her anymore. It was useless even if she regretted it. Point 2. Then what do you want to hear? Xiaoling wasn't defeated by his words. Point 2. She quickly walked up and grabbed Gu Qian's wrist. Come with me. I have something to tell you. 2. I said I don't want to hear it. Gu Qian turned back and looked at Xiaoling coldly. Jingshi, please let go of me. Is it meaningful to harass me like this? Xiaoling's cold eyes flashed with hurt, but she looked at Gu Qian stubbornly. If you don't want to hear it, I still have to say it, too. Gu Qian, are you sure you want me to say it here? 2. Gu Qian frowned and suddenly felt some movement on the stairs. He watched indifferently and did not break free from Xiaoling. Oh, then you can say it here. Whatever you say, I will listen, too. Seeing that Gu Qian's attitude had suddenly changed, Xiaoling sensed the aura of the person coming from behind. But at this moment, it was her chance to tell Gu Qian and Gao Shengyang everything. She was not a saint, so she could not take care of everyone's feelings. Gu Qian, I don't want to have a cold war with you anymore. Let's make up, too. As she spoke this word by word, her obsidian-like eyes were clear and focused on Gu Qian. Point 2. And in the girl's eyes, Gu Qian saw his own reflection. It was a small, slightly complicated expression of his. But these black and white eyes were very beautiful, and there was only himself in them. Gu Qian liked these eyes and the focused look she gave him. However, when this kind of look belonged to other boys and came back to him, he really didn't want it anymore. Why should I believe you? Gu Qian raised his eyebrows mockingly. Point 2. Slowly, he pried away Xiaoling's hand that was holding his wrist and looked behind Xiaoling. Gao Shengyang stood there with his friend beside him. Gao Shengyang stood there with a pale face, his whole body frozen. Xiaoling looked at him and said calmly and seriously, Gao Shengyang, let's break up. Although I should say I'm sorry, I'm not in a relationship with you during this period of time. Time is precious. We should study hard and stop wasting our time on these unnecessary things. Let's return to the relationship of friends. Is that okay, too? Friends. Gao Shengyang looked like he was crying rather than laughing. Point 2. Xiaoling nodded and said yes. 2. What about Gu Qian? Is he also your friend? Gao Shengyang stared at Gu Qian unwillingly. Point 2. The two boys were confronting each other in the corridor. Gu Qian looked indifferent and mocking, but in fact, he was also waiting for Xiaoling's answer. Xiaoling, if he is willing to make up with me, then he is my best brother and best friend. You are different from him. You can't be compared to him. 2. Hearing the first half, Gu Qian was not happy. Hearing the second half, his mood was much better, but he still felt vaguely dissatisfied. Asterisk, ending the short-lived puppy love with Gao Shengyang was only the start. Point 2. Xiaoling began to avoid Gu Qian. People were always bullying the weak and afraid of the strong. During Xiaoling's outburst, she beat Zhou Xiaozhu up so badly. Not only did the teacher not blame her, but Gu Qian also came out to help her deal with the aftermath. Previously, the original owner kept a low profile and did not want people to know about her relationship with Gu Qian. In school, not only did she not mention that she and Gu Qian were childhood friends, but she also denied it when others mentioned it. Point 2. However, while she denied it, Gu Qian treated her very differently. After a long time, Gu Qian would treat her coldly. Those who were jealous of her no longer had any scruples. They bullied the original owner, scolded and humiliated her, all to vent the pent-up dissatisfaction in their hearts. Then Xiaoling really became stubborn. Point 2. Whoever scolded me, I will hit them. I'm a relative. I'm the person that Gu Qian will protect. Let's see who dares to bully me. These people who had bullied her before were all afraid that she would take revenge. Now, they did not dare to breathe loudly. In the class, they vaguely praised Xia Ling as the big sister. The moment she entered the classroom, the entire classroom was silent. Asterisk, she went to school and finished school as usual. The time was separated from Gu Qian. When she saw Gu Qian, she would also avoid him. She avoided Gu Qian like this, but Gu Qian's emotions calmed down. The system had told Xiaoling that Gu Qian's darkening value was continuously decreasing, and the danger value had already decreased. This was also what Xiaoling had expected. Her personality had gone from cold to ice cold, and she appeared to be a lone wolf on campus. In private, she had gotten the nickname Ice Beauty, too. These days, Gao Xingyang had not appeared at school. It seemed like he was attending a training session outside of school, or he was sick and asked for leave. Xiaoling's class always had girls who planned to visit Gao Xingyang at home. Xiaoling listened and never participated. So the girls knew that Jing Shi really had nothing to do with Gao Xingyang anymore. It was strange that Jing Shi would always follow behind Gu Qian. Asterisk, time flew by in the blink of an eye. It was half a month. Saturday, the 3.5-month break of high school. Gu Qian rode his bicycle, and just as he returned home, he saw the girl standing under the tree at the entrance of the villa. She looked at him with a smile. She was wearing a school uniform and looked extremely warm. Gu Qian stopped the bicycle and looked at the young girl. His emotions were inexplicably complicated. He had seen all the changes that had happened to her over the past few days. He had never thought that she would change like this. In the beginning, his hatred for her seemed to have faded a lot. When he thought of her, he would not feel uncomfortable. Instead, his emotions would be much calmer. Since he was young, she had always been his psychological sustenance. In the past, even if she did everything he said, Gu Qian still felt that it was not enough. It was as if a big hole had been torn in his heart. But now, she did not do anything. She had her own ideas and discussed with him about learning. Gu Qian looked at her and felt inexplicably satisfied. A good teacher and a good friend. It was probably true. Jing Shi. His voice was a little dry. Gu Qian looked at the young girl and smiled. Point two. His smile was very beautiful, like the warm sunshine of spring. Point two. What's the matter? 2. Xiaoling, Father Gu and Mother Gu are going out for a period of time. It's just the two of us. Please give us some guidance. 2. Gu Qian was stunned. When 2. Ever since Jing Shi's personality became gentle, Father Gu and Mother Gu apologized to her and accepted her as family again. Point 2. Xiaoling was like a fish in water in the Gu family. Mother Gu liked her more than she liked Gu Qian. Whenever there was anything they wanted to do, Father Gu and Mother Gu would tell Xiaoling and ignore her and Gu Qian. The two of them would go out to travel and play. Point 2. Okay, it's really like a second spring. Gu Qian mumbled and did not complain. Point 2. Then let's take turns to cook these days, he said lightly. Point 2. No, I don't know how to. A girl's hands need to be pampered. Xiaoling immediately suggested. Gu Qian, you're so capable. You've already wrapped up the food in these few days? 2. The girl was wearing a blue and white school uniform. Her black hair fell on her shoulders. Her gentle and cold side profile looked extremely beautiful in the backlight, like a white butterfly that was about to fly away. Gu Qian's heart trembled. He turned his face away and said, Okay, 2. Gu Qian's food was not delicious. Although the recipe was very precise, there was always a black hole in it. Every time the food was cooked, it was either too bitter or too sweet and salty. Xiaoling followed him and tasted all the sour, sweet, bitter, and spicy food. Finally, she could not help but roll up her sleeves and do it. Point 2. On this day, Xiaoling finally ate a normal and delicious meal. Point 2. Asterisk. Before Father and Mother Gu returned, Xiaoling studied the system store. Although her points were all gone, she could find whatever she needed in the store. Item, Sealing Pearl. Conceal the selected memory. Take it out when needed. Points, 2,000. She had found what she needed from Mall. In the past, this small amount of points was not even a fraction of her points. But now, seeing that she only had 1,300 points left, Xiaoling was silent again. She swore with her toes that the system was definitely doing it on purpose, deliberately not telling her and not giving her time to process her points. Otherwise, with so many points, Xiaoling's system warehouse would be filled to the brim if she exchanged them for usable items in the mall. Sensing Xiaoling's resentment, the system immediately pretended to be dead and did not say anything. After closing the shopping mall, Xiaoling was prepared to wait until she completed the mission and then get the 1,000 points in her hands. She would then take the pearl with the full amount of money. Now, she was no longer in a hurry. Asterisk. Xiaoling worked for 2 days. It was really annoying. For the rest of the days, they simply ate outside every day. Early in the morning, Gu Qian rode his bike and brought Xiaoling to eat breakfast all over the entire of Province A. After eating everywhere, the bean curd at the school gate was still the best point too. Xiaoling's bike broke down, so she could only ride Gu Qian's bike. She sat on the back seat of his bike and looked at his sturdy back. In the end, she still held onto the back seat of the bike, conservatively point two. Today, there are 4 classes in the morning. After that, there will be a break for lunch. The potato chips in the cafeteria will be cooked by the chef today, so you can go and snatch them. Are you going to the student union to review your homework, or to the library to read? Xiaoling asked Gu Qian point two. The sun shone brightly on the boys and girls, as if it was shining on them point two. Then I'll review my homework at the student union. I have a meeting to host at noon. Gu Qian thought for a moment and said point two. Xiaoling didn't have any objections. Study hard and improve every day. Ever since she broke up with Gao Xingyang and slowly broke the ice with Gu Qian's character slowly improved in their daily interactions. As for Xiaoling, what she gradually improved was her originally very bad results. With the support of Gu Qian, her originally mediocre results suddenly soared in this half semester. If it continued to develop, it wouldn't be a problem for her to finish her college entrance examination and enter a key university point two. Gu Qian was in his 3rd year of high school this year and was about to face the graduation season. The other members of the student union had already retired and let them focus on their studies. Gu Qian, on the other hand, was a capable person who worked hard. He was still able to sit firmly in the position of the president of the student union and had a small tail wherever he went. Rumors began to spread about him and Xiaoling too. Some people said that they were in a relationship, but Gu Qian and Xiaoling both denied it point two. Who would be in a relationship and discuss problem sets together every day? Their 2 problem sets had already stirred up the entire student union from the 2 of them point two. After lunch, in the meeting room of the student union, they shared their learning experiences and held a learning discussion. They were the ones who started the discussion. With such an atmosphere, even those who had retired from the 3rd year of high school were willing to come to the student union to freeload. It was really beneficial for them to let Gu Qian talk about his learning methods. Asterisk. Early in the morning, Gu Qian was waiting for Xiaoling outside the villa. When he saw the girl coming, he stepped on the pedal with his long legs. Let's go, too. Originally, Gu Qian had been riding his bike to send the original owner off. It was just that they got into an argument later. Now that the 2 of them had reconciled, the back seat of Gu Qian's bike naturally belonged to Xiaoling again. Hold me, too. Gu Qian got on the bike. Sit properly, too. The voice came from the front. Xiaoling pursed her lips and obediently hugged Gu Qian's waist. She could feel Gu Qian's body slightly tense up. The scenery in the back seat of the bike was very good. The morning breeze brushed past her face. Recently, Gu Qian's parents were not at home. In the morning, it was Gu Qian who cooked breakfast for Xiaoling. They were tired of eating toast and milk. Today, they were going to visit the owner's tofu flower stall again point two. Just as they stopped, the boss waved at them with a smile while waving at the customers. Oh, it's so nice. Are you guys back together, too? Ever since they were together, this was the first time they came to the tofu flower stall, too. Gu Qian nodded and said, okay. He lined up and took 2 bowls of tofu flowers from the boss. He found a table in the open space and put them on a point two. Seeing the 2 of them, the owner of the tofu pudding stall became happy again point two. You 2 are really close. You must be brother and sister, too. Gu Qian looked at Xiaoling. No, we're good friends. Xiaoling glanced at Gu Qian, holding a porcelain spoon point two. What she said was true, but Gu Qian felt a little awkward listening to it. It was as if he treated her more than good friends. However, whoever asked him this question, the girl answered them clearly and straightforwardly, as if he was the only one who thought too much. Gu Qian suppressed the strange feeling in his heart. He knew that they were still too young, and it was not the time to show their cards, so he did not show it on his face. Xiaoling bought 3 bowls of tofu pudding. The boss gave her a lot of tofu pudding, and she forced herself to finish all of it. Her burps were filled with the smell of tofu pudding. If Gu Qian had not stopped her, she would have been stuffed silly too. She waited for Gu Qian's bicycle and brought Xiaoling to a place more than 100 meters away from the school gate. Gu Qian stopped and waited for the young girl to get off. This was the agreement between Gu Qian and the young girl. They would not expose their relationship and pretend to be friends at school. But this time, Xiaoling grabbed Gu Qian's clothes. Continue walking and bring me into the campus. 2. Gu Qian, are you sure? 2. Xiaoling's imposing manner was astonishing. Yes, I'm sure, too. Asterisk. At the school gate, when they saw Xiaoling sitting on the back seat of Gu Qian's bicycle, the members of the Student Union's Discipline and Protection Department, who were on duty at the gate, felt a burning fire in their hearts. 2. The leader of the Student Union was the first to fall in love? Don't think too much, we're just friends. 2. Oh, the two of them were so well matched that no one would believe that they were not a couple. 2. Asterisk. Gu Qian was really too eye-catching. He brought Xiaoling into the school a few times and was soon targeted by the dean. He and Xiaoling were called into the office together. The dean was very familiar with Gu Qian and brought along his relatives. 2. But with a dark face, he reprimanded Gu Qian in a serious manner. How can a boy with a promising future like you fall in love at a young age? Do you know how bad the atmosphere in school is, too? Dean, we didn't fall in love at a young age. Gu Qian looked at Xiaoling, too. He did have such thoughts, but unfortunately, the girl did not give him a chance. Every time he had the slightest intention to confess, she would change the topic and stop him. There was also another time when she told him very seriously that they were still in school and that they had to focus on their studies. Everything else could wait until they graduated. With a faint smile, Gu Qian naturally spoke frankly about things that he had never done before. It was not that the director did not believe him, but he had also heard that the two of them were competing in their studies and had already brought about a wave of study group atmosphere in the Student Union. 2. It was just that it was always difficult for young people to control themselves. It was common for young men to admire women. 2. No matter what, they could not always go in and out together. They had to pay attention to their influence. Turning around, the dean focused his attention on Xiaoling too. Jing Shi, right? What a good name. It sounds like a cultured person. She's also good-looking. She matches Gu Qian well. She is a talented student and a beautiful woman. Huh. May I ask, the famous entrepreneur in our city, Jing Feng, and you are? 2. Xiaoling. That's my father, too. The dean laughed even harder. Ah, that's right. Like father, like daughter. No wonder when I look at you, I feel that even though you're young, your future is limitless. How about it? Are you planning to go abroad for university? Which one? Cambridge or University of London? Xiaoling could not accept this. Cambridge and London were not funded by Jing Shi's father. How could she just go wherever she wanted to? Gu Qian looked at Xiaoling's awkwardness and took the initiative to take over the topic. Gu Qian said, we're planning to stay in the country. I'm going to Southern Medical University. Jing Shi, she just wants to learn whatever she likes, too. Southern Medical University. Hearing this name, the dean was shocked. He looked at Gu Qian with an even more complicated expression, too. He often stayed in the school. He did not often hear the name of this university, but the dean knew that the few people who were admitted to this school when they graduated from the university in 4 years were assigned to the military hospital. Senior technical doctors were equivalent to the top talents of the country. The Gu family was a university professor, but Jing Feng was one of the best entrepreneurs in the country. Initially, when the dean heard that Jing Shi was from the Jing family, he thought that Gu Qian was a little high up. 2. But if Gu Qian really got admitted to the Southern Medical University, it would be different. His position would be reversed in an instant. 2. And with Gu Qian's excellence, it was not impossible for him to get into this university. 2. Do your best, the Dean of Education said seriously. He patted Gu Qian on the shoulder and then looked at Xiaoling. He was full of gratification for them. The future belongs to you. The college entrance examination belongs to you. 2. Campus life was simple. Xiaoling and Gu Qian lived a plain life of studying. 2. One day, the campus forum suddenly exposed their relationship. It could be seen that the people who secretly took the photos had been staring at them for a long time. These photos were carefully selected from every angle. Some of them were studying together, and some of them were watching Xiaoling. It was not a big deal for the two of them to study together, but when Gu Qian looked at Xiaoling with that faint and gentle gaze, no one would believe him even if he said that he did not like Xiaoling. The discipline office invited Gu Qian and Xiaoling into the palace for the second time, and also called their parents. 2. The Gu parents were invited to the discipline director's office for a talk. Since Gu Qian was the president of the student union and ranked first in the year, the discipline director and the principal were not the only ones who dealt with the problem of his puppy love. 2. As Jing Shi's guardian, Jing Feng was also invited to the school. Before this, Xiaoling only saw the photos left at home and the local news channel when she saw Jing Feng. Finally, she saw Jing Feng himself. He was tall and big, about 1.9 meters tall. Jing Shi's mother was also a beautiful woman with short hair. Her mother, Li Tian, was a teacher at the party school. She was also the vice president of the National Charitable Foundation. She traveled to the mountainous areas all year round to help the poor children in need. This time, her parents were finally complete. Xiaoling still had to thank the school. After a long period of free-range rearing, Jing Feng and Li Tian did not notice any changes in their daughter. However, Li Tian looked at Gu Qian and said that his mother-in-law was getting more and more satisfied with her son-in-law the more she looked at him. Before Li Tian talked to the principal, he pulled Gu Qian's mother aside and talked for a while. Mother Gu did not dislike Xiaoling. Previously, she said that she did not want to affect Gu Qian's studies because she was afraid that their love for each other would delay their studies. However, no one said that they could not be together after they graduated from the college entrance examination. Ahem, here's the thing, teacher. Although Jing Feng was used to matters like this, when he faced the principal and the dean, he wanted to tell them the result that Li Tian had discussed just now. He also felt a little embarrassed. 2. Actually, Gu Qian and Jing Shi have been engaged to each other since they were young. When they graduate from university, we'll prepare for them to get married. Principal. 2. Xiaoling. I didn't even know. 2. Gu Qian. I'm so happy. I don't even need to confess. 2. As a parent, when they heard that their child was in a puppy-love relationship, especially one with such good grades, and was even ahead of the college entrance exam, who wouldn't be anxious and angry. They wished that they could keep an eye on their child at all times so that he wouldn't be distracted. 2. Right now, the Jing family didn't care about Gu Qian, but what about the Gu family? Weren't they afraid that their child would take a wrong path and ruin his life? 2. The principal looked at the parents of the Gu family. Mother Gu also looked at Gu Qian. Even in the office, they were facing both parents and the principal. Gu Qian held the young girl's hand, his expression extremely calm. Although Gu Qian was not close to them, as parents, they naturally knew their children the best. Mother Gu was of course afraid that the puppy love would affect Gu Qian's studies, but if she did not let Gu Qian fall in love, he had already made up his mind. He would probably not even go to the college entrance examination. Who knew what he would do, too? This son of his was outstanding in everything, but he had been paranoid since he was young. It was said that the Gu family had been through 3 generations, and there was also a love addict. Looking at Gu Qian's appearance, he would never be able to get over the hurdle of Jing Shi in this lifetime. We believe in Gu Qian. Mother Gu said. 2. The principal fell silent again. As a provincial model principal, the enrollment rate of his subordinates was one of the best in the country, but he had never seen such an open-minded parent. Puppy love was the worst behavior among students. The school could not allow such a thing to happen. 2. But 2. Were Gu Qian and Jing Shi really in a puppy love relationship? 2. Principal, Please give me 3 days to find out who the person who took the photos and spread the rumors is. Faced with the support of his family, Gu Qian did not intend to let it go. Point 2. This forum post would let him and Jingshi walk a clear path. But at the same time, the person who did this wanted to harm them from the bottom of their hearts. They could not be appeased. Point 2. Do you swear that you're not in a relationship with Jingshi? 2. I swear. Although I like Jingshi, she has never responded to me. She wants to study hard and get into a good university in the future. So I'm also prepared to wait for her to get to university. Then we will talk about everything. Gu Qian said truthfully. Point 2. His confession gave a reasonable explanation for the gentle eyes in the photo, and also made the adults present believe in their statements more. But now, looking at Gu Qian, the principal had also been looking at him since his first year of high school. Every time the speech under the national flag was given by him, every time the Olympic competition was held, he was the one who won the prize. Later on, when he became the president of the student union and did both academic work, he was still the one who helped the teachers to make the student union look bad. Point 2. In view of your previous good performance on campus, I'll give you 3 days. However, if you can't prove that this is a frame-up after 3 days, you and Jingshi can only transfer to another school. Our school doesn't keep such students, too. Mother Gu's expression changed. Principal Lin, you're making things too difficult for the child. 2. Okay. Gu Qian agreed and stopped Mother Gu from continuing. Principal, 3 days is enough. 2. Asterisk. In 3 days, Gu Qian successfully obtained the evidence that Zhou Xiaozhu had hired someone to secretly take photos and intentionally post it on the forum to smear Gu Qian and Xiaoling too. When the evidence was placed in front of the principal, only then did the principal believe Gu Qian and Xiaoling. Zhou Xiaozhu was expelled from the school for spreading rumors and having ulterior motives. As for Gu Qian, he was focused on preparing for the exam, while Xiaoling was studying with him in advance. 3 months later, the college entrance examination arrived on schedule with the scorching weather. When Gu Qian entered the college entrance examination hall, Xiaoling was still in class. The school strictly ordered the students to ask for leave, so she could only silently cheer for Gu Qian in the classroom. Gu Qian's mother prayed for the fortune pendant from the temple. Although she did not like these messy things, Gu Qian still put the fortune pendant on himself. Gao Xingyang also took the exam at the same time as Gu Qian. Coincidentally, Gao Xingyang and Gu Qian took the exam at the same place. The college entrance exam lasted for 3 days. On the 3rd day, it was a Saturday. Xiaoling called in sick and lied that the school was closed. She waited for Gu Qian to come out of the exam hall with Gu Qian's parents. When the bell rang to hand in the exam papers, a large group of examinees filed out of the teaching building of the exam hall. It was so dark that Xiaoling tiptoed to look, but she could not find Gu Qian. Finally, her gaze fell on Gu Qian. Xiaoling waved at him and quickly walked over to greet him. When she walked up to him, she was clearly at the entrance of the examination hall, and in the eyes of the security guards and teachers, Gu Qian suddenly hugged Xiaoling in his arms in front of so many people. Xiaoling was a little stunned. Then, she felt a complicated gaze staring at her from behind Gu Qian. When she looked up, she saw the tall Gao Xingyang. He was wearing a gray coat and was 1.9 meters tall. He was particularly eye-catching among the examinees. Xiaoling had not seen Gao Xingyang for a long time. When she saw him again, it was about the same as when Xiaoling saw him in the villa. It had only been a few months, so of course, he had not changed much. Oh, you're also taking the exam here. What a coincidence. Gu Qian and Xiaoling stood side by side and looked in the direction of her line of sight. Point 2. When he saw Gao Xingyang, his handsome face raised his eyebrows as if he had just noticed Gao Xingyang. They were clearly in the same exam hall, and they had taken the exam together for 3 days. The corner of Gao Xingyang's mouth twitched. He looked at Gu Qian's calm expression and was actually unable to say a word. When love rivals meet, it's life or death. However, when his gaze shifted to Gu Qian and the young girl standing together, looking inexplicably compatible, Gao Xingyang's expression became a little dimmer. Perhaps he didn't even have the chance to fight to the death. Between Gu Qian and the young girl, No one could get involved at all. This childhood friendship, he had already lost to Gu Qian for more than 10 years. Hee hee, Gao Xingyang, you're here too. How did the exam go? Xiaoling asked with a slightly embarrassed smile. Point two. Gu Qian was a narrow-minded person. Gao Xingyang's scorching gaze was about to roast him. Didn't he know to restrain himself, too? It's not bad. I'm definitely not as good as Gu Qian, but the last point is not a problem, Gao Xingyang said. Point two. He was a national first-class athlete and had some trophies. As long as his college entrance exam results were acceptable, there were plenty of universities that invited him. That's good. Xiaoling smiled again. Point two. On this side, Gu Qian held her hand. He felt that the girl's smile was very dazzling, so he held the girl's hand tighter. Let's go. Mom and Dad are still waiting for us over there, Gu Qian said. Point two. Gu Qian deliberately made a sound as if Xiaoling and he were already a family. Gu Qian's narrow-mindedness was evident. Seeing that Gao Xingyang looked a little sad, Xiaoling immediately averted her eyes. Okay, we're leaving. Gao Xingyang, take care of yourself, too. I will, Gao Xingyang said as he looked at her. Point two. Gu Qian was supposed to swear sovereignty, but Gao Xingyang's sad look, coupled with his tall figure, made him stand there and look at Xiaoling, as if a love triangle had been put on in front of everyone. Jing, sure. As long as Gu Qian dares to treat you badly, you come to me. I will wait for you until I am 30 years old. If I don't see you at 30 years old, I won't marry you for life, too. The second half of the sentence was spoken silently by Gao Xingyang in his heart. The scorching sun had yet to dissipate his power. Xiaoling was stunned when she heard Gao Xingyang's voice. However, Gu Qian's eyes darkened and he stopped in his tracks. At the crowded entrance of the exam venue, Gu Qian looked indifferently at Gao Xingyang, who was standing where he was. You won't have a chance, too. His voice was still clearly heard by Gao Xingyang in the noisy environment. Even the entire entrance of the exam venue was silent. Some parents were worried about their children's college entrance exam results. At this time, they said with some disdain, at the moment, you're only concerned about dating. You definitely won't do well in the exam. You've broken the pot and thrown it away, too. Next to him, a middle school student looked at the parent as if he were looking at a fool. He's not in a relationship, he has money, and the whole school knows how much they love their studies. Look at him and Jingshi together, they never talk about anything but the topic. That boy is top student. In every joint examination, he is the first in the city that too. The city's first joint examination is the highest level north of Tsinghua that can guarantee success, too. The parents who had been slapped in the face instantly fell silent. They watched as Gu Qian and Xiaoling walked side by side to the Gu family's parents who were waiting at the side. This happy scene suddenly made the parents understand what it meant to be someone else's child. They could control themselves when they were young and protect their love. When they were old, all their feelings would naturally be formed. They would do whatever they wanted at any age. This was the most intelligent and self-controlled person who could do such a perfect thing. Asterisk. Ding. Congratulations to host for completing the mission. 2. Leave the world or accompany the Devil King for the rest of his life. Please choose. 2. Accompany him for the rest of his life. 2. Congratulations to the host for obtaining an additional 500 battle points. You can exchange them for the corresponding items in the Battle Strategy store. 2. When Xiaoling graduated from high school and entered university, Gu Qian truly confessed to her, and the two of them officially established their relationship. Point 2. August was the welcoming month of the Southern Medical University. It was also the busiest time at the Medical University. Point 2. Dragging a heavy suitcase, Xiaoling could only take a taxi to school because Gu Qian had something to do at the last minute. She was wearing a light yellow dress, a white baseball cap, and a pair of white shoes. Dragging the suitcase, she looked elegant and refined, which could be noticed at a glance. The male-female ratio in the Southern Medical University was seriously out of whack. It was already very rare for the male-female ratio to reach 8-2 every year. Seeing such a fresh and refined girl dragging the suitcase over, the seniors who were waiting at the door immediately stood up and looked at Xiaoling with joy of redemption. 2. Junior, which department did you apply for? 2. 7 or 8 seniors went over. Some wanted to help Xiao Ling drag her luggage, while others spoke enthusiastically to Xiao Ling. They were shocked by their overly enthusiastic attitude. Xiao Ling dragged her luggage and was unwilling to let go. After stabilizing it for a while, she spoke politely. I applied for a clinical medicine major. Are there any seniors who specialize in clinical medicine, too? Oh, clinical medicine. They're over there. A group of disappointed voices sounded as if they were watching Xia Ling fly away from their eyes. Point two. The contrast was a little too big, and Xia Ling was feeling a little curious. Suddenly, someone shouted from the side. The president is here. What are you guys doing around the freshmen, too? The boys immediately straightened their expressions and turned around to look at Gu Qian. He walked over from afar, his steps calm and gentle. At first glance, one could tell that he had a calm temperament which made people admire him. Point two. When he asked Xiao Ling which department she was from, he smiled and said, President, you're also here to pick up new students. This is a new student of the clinical medicine department. She's a great beauty. To be honest, did you hear the news earlier and come here at this time? 2. The surroundings were filled with laughter, and amidst the laughter, Gu Qian also walked over. In front of everyone, he stood in front of Xiao Ling and smiled. Welcome to the Southern Medical University. Student Jing Shi, too. Xiao Ling looked at Gu Qian's calm eyes and finally felt a sense of liberation. The college entrance examination was not scary, but what was scary was the feeling of being forced to study under the supervision of the internet for 12 hours, too. In order for her to enter the Southern Medical University, Gu Qian had to expend several times more energy than he did to enter the university himself. Sometimes, Xiao Ling even suspected that Gu Qian had long known that she was pretending to be in a trance, so he seized the opportunity to ruthlessly punish her. But he urged her to take the college entrance examination under the pretext of letting both of them go to the same university. Moreover, this person seemed to be gentle and polite, but in fact, he was very black-bellied and vengeful. He often did some ruthless things without batting an eyelid. Anyway, too, Xiao Ling had never seen someone who could take advantage of Gu Qian and still escape unscathed. Yo, you really came prepared. President, you're too unkind. It's not easy for a little beauty to come here, but you just stood here. There's nothing to do with us, too. Yeah, it's too unkind. President, you'd better help the counselor with logistics. We're enough here, too. Beauty, your name is Jing Shi, right? Come, I'm also a clinical medicine major. I'm a sophomore today, and I'm also your direct senior. Let me tell you, don't look at our president's good-looking face, but actually, this was like an iceberg. Many senior sisters in the school had come to confess to him, but he had coldly rejected them. We all suspected that he had a problem with his orientation and liked men. 2. Gu Qian glanced at him coldly. The talkative boy trembled. He turned around and wanted to grab him, but he was pulled back by the person beside him. Don't pull me. Lin Bei, didn't you tell the gossip to me? He immediately threw the blame, but Gu Qian's expression was indifferent. He didn't believe his words at all. Point 2. Gu Qian, Lin Bei, it's our dormitory's turn to do weekly hygiene this week. Let Li Feng go to the cafeteria to help. Those aunties who work hard to clean up the rotten water in the cafeteria should welcome people to help them. 2. Don't. The boy called Li Feng instantly screamed. Point 2. But Lin Bei, who was beside him, nodded, which meant that the matter was already set in stone. With a dejected face, Li Feng looked at Gu Qian pitifully, as if he wanted to beg Gu Qian to change his mind. But when did Gu Qian ever change his words? Li Feng looked at Gu Qian, chuckled, and then said to Xiao Ling, Junior sister, you saw it. Gu Qian is this cold and heartless man. To pick a boyfriend, it's better to pick a puppy type, obedient and kind. It's good to be like me, don't you think so, too? Lin Bei sneered at the side as he openly wanted to make Gu Qian unhappy. He was just waiting to see how Li Feng would die. Anyone with a discerning eye could tell that the president must have had his heart set on calling out the girl's name. Lin Bei had thought of all the endings, but he did not expect Gu Qian to not be angry at all when he heard Li Feng's words. Gu Qian reached out and held Xiao Ling's slender waist. His movements were familiar, and it was obviously not the first time he had done this. Then, he looked at Li Feng and Lin Bei and said calmly, "Let me introduce you to Jing Shi, my girlfriend. We're getting married after graduation, too. Li Feng, too. Lin Bei, too." He still maintained a cold smile on his face. Lin Bei hugged his shoulders and waited for Li Feng to make a scene. However, he did not expect Gu Qian to collapse the moment he opened his mouth. For the entire first year of single Southern Medicine University, he was a flower that every girl wanted to pick. To think that he had always had a girlfriend, an old cow eating young grass, and a junior sister eating young grass. He would even get married after graduation, too. He thought about the quality of the girls at the University of Southern Medicine recruited this year and the girl that was already in Gu Qian's arms. The dream of getting rid of the bachelor was instantly shattered. Li Feng and Lin Bei looked at each other and saw the clear words "bachelor dog" on each other's faces. They sighed in unison. Getting rid of the dog life. There was no hope for this year. Asterisk. When Xia Ling graduated, Gu Qian was in the research institute that was attached to the University of Southern Medicine. He just happened to have completed his internship. The two of them held a wedding and invited many people. The wedding was held in Xiamen. Xiamen, with its clear water and blue sky, was not much worse than other famous places overseas. When Xia Ling threw the bouquet, Li Feng went forward to cheer her up. Who would have thought that when he stretched out his hand, the bouquet was knocked out of the way and fell straight into Lin Bei's arms? Li Feng looked over. Lin Bei's face was full of confusion. He used to always have a mocking expression on his face, but now he actually looked a little silly and cute. Especially now that Lin Bei was wearing the same black best man's tuxedo as in point 2. Why did he feel that the best man's outfit that he and Lin Bei wore was so much like a couple's outfit? Congratulations. Congratulations. Lin Bei, the next good thing to happen is for you. Xia Ling and Gu Qian went over, and Xia Ling smiled to congratulate him point 2. As the person to be congratulated, Lin Bei came back to his senses. He was a little embarrassed when he saw the bouquet of flowers. He didn't even have a girlfriend. How could there be such a good thing? 2. Asterisk. Then, 2 years later, Lin Bei walked into the wedding hall. He became the second person in their group to hold a wedding. However, the person beside him was Li Feng, too. That's right. As a man, he was turned gay. He got married to his roommate, too. The two of them received their marriage certificate in Australia. After that, they settled down overseas. Asterisk. Xia Ling attended the wedding. When she saw Lin Bei and Li Feng standing together, she did not know why, but her eyes hurt a little. When she looked at Gu Qian next to her, Gu Qian's expression was even more subtle. After a long time, Gu Qian's college roommates gathered together again. They looked at Lin Bei and Li Feng, who were together, as well as Gu Qian and Xia Ling. One of the roommates looked at Gu Qian tipsy after drinking and sighed. I didn't expect Li Feng to have such a preference. No wonder he said in his sleep that day that he wanted Lin Bei's, but to be higher. I thought I heard it wrong, but it's true, too. As soon as he said this, Lin Bei glared at Li Feng, and his face instantly fell. To be honest, Li Feng's sleep talk that day was shouted out. He also heard it, but he didn't think too much about it point 2. Xia Ling smiled and didn't say anything at the side. Gu Qian's eyes dimmed a little, but he opened his mouth to speak. So the next day, I changed beds with Lin Bei, too. Yeah, after changing beds, the two of them were next to each other. It's a pity that he doesn't have the guts to go after them after graduation. The others were making fun of him, and the food stall was filled with laughter. It was clearly a reunion that had been going on for 10 years, but when they talked about it, it was just like yesterday, vivid in their minds. After making fun of Li Feng and Lin Bei, they drank some wine and let go of the topic. The other few turned their heads and aimed at Gu Qian. President, do you still remember your junior year? 2. Gu Qian, too. He was also slightly drunk. He was very happy tonight with these roommates. Relying on the alcohol, the others looked at each other and found some confidence to expose the truth. They winked and smiled. At that time, I advise you take it easy on your kidneys. How about it? After so many years, is your waist better? 2. Gu Qian's eyes darkened slightly as he looked at them. Xia Ling, who was sitting next to him, saw their expressions and was reminded of the past. Her face suddenly turned red, like a cooked tomato. Asterisk. Gu Qian's third year, Xiaoling's second year. After the new year, when school started, she would be 18 years old. She was 18 years old and did not spend time with her family, but she did not have any family to begin with. Jing Feng and Li Tian only called her to give her their blessings and gave her some money. The one who really bought her a cake and invited her roommate to dinner was Gu Qian. Xiaoling drank a glass of wine. It was just a small glass, and it did not taste strong, but after drinking it, she realized that Jing Shi's body was actually drunk from alcohol. She was so drunk that she was in a daze. When she woke up, Gu Qian was beside her, hugging her, but he did not do anything overboard. Point two. To her, he had always treated her like a piece of jewelry and would not act rashly. At the food stall, Xiaoling snapped out of her memories and looked at Gu Qian, who was calm and composed. It could be said that he was very thick-skinned. Point two. She could not help but reach out to pinch the soft flesh on his waist. His roommate said that back then, Gu Qian was floating when he walked. His footsteps were light and his face was slightly pale. It was obvious that his body had been hollowed out, so they reminded him to pay attention. Point two. So it turned out that even the devil's 7 times a night love could not last for so many days. Laughing in her heart, Xiaoling's lips curled up. She withdrew her hand, but halfway through, Gu Qian grabbed her. He wrapped her hand in his palm and held it gently, his fingers intertwined and the lines of his palms facing each other. Gu Qian's eyes were slightly blurred. He turned his face to the side and openly leaned his face on Xiaoling's shoulder. He said, "Xiao Shi, I love you too." Xiaoling's ears were a little red, and Lin Bei and the others were laughing in front of her. She could not help but glare at Gu Qian. The look in her eyes was not lethal at all, and it even made Gu Qian's lips curl up again. The food stall was brightly lit, but from Gu Qian's point of view, the girl he was leaning against was completely shrouded in the light. Her face was glowing and her expression was slightly embarrassed. Even though 10 years had passed in the blink of an eye, she was still his favorite person to gaze upon. Some things had never changed, too. Perhaps the breeze blew, and he was really a little drunk. Gu Qian curved his thin lips, closed his eyes, and leaned against Xiaoling's neck. Hey, President, your alcohol tolerance is not bad. You can't pretend to be drunk, too. Showing off your love again. After 4 years of university, I've been eating your dog food. Now that I've seen it again, it's still pretty good, too. The others were still chatting and rambling. They had families, jobs, and careers all over the world. Xiaoling gently stroked Gu Qian's face, and her expression was gentle again. She was willing to be with him as long as they were together. Asterisk, she and Gu Qian would grow old together. When Jing Shi's body died, Xiaoling was brought back to firmament and continent by the system. She put Gu Qian's soul back into the Demon King's body. The system, which had been blocked by Xiaoling so many times, finally exploded. Point two. It was very angry. When Xiaoling was ready to use 2,800 points to buy the sealed pearl with 2,000 points, the system was furious. Point two. While Xiaoling was sealing her memory, the system first deducted 10 points, and the whole operation was done smoothly. When the sealed pearl was used for the first time, it would affect Xiaoling's memory. Point two. Rubbing her aching head, Xiaoling looked at her system store interface. 790 points? Size so poor. Her chaotic memory allowed her to not notice the little tricks the system had done. The system, which had unknowingly been corrupted by Xiaoling, was delighted in its heart. It counted the 10 points it finally had, treating it as its own private money and carefully hiding it. "Host, do you want to rest for a few days? Or do you want to go straight to the next mission?" It asked gently. Point two. Xiaoling, system, are you okay? Did you take the wrong medicine? No. Did you get infected with some virus, too? The system instantly laughed. Host, you took the wrong medicine. Your whole family took the wrong medicine and even got infected, too. At first, it wanted to talk to her properly, but Xiaoling could not. The moment she opened her mouth, it would explode in anger. And all of this must be because she was too free and needed to be busy. See you later. Without asking whether Xiaoling needed to rest, the system directly sent Xiaoling to the next interface. Point two. Then the white light disappeared in front of her eyes. Point 2. When Xia Ling could see everything clearly, she saw the vermilion gauze. Point 2. A pearl the size of a bowl was reflected in Xia Ling's eyes in the dark night. Point 2. The vermilion gauze draped down from the side of the pearl. The gauze interweaved with the moonlight outside the window. On the whole, this was a very beautiful night. Point 2. Except for the man beside her. She pushed him away. The Empress is a little different today, the man said in a low and hoarse voice. Point 2. After that, everything ended very quickly. His tone was very calm. One could not tell if he was happy or angry, much less whether he was satisfied with her. However, Xiaoling knew that if there were no problems between the man and her, then with the two of them lying on the couch together, his attitude towards her would not be so indifferent. Point 2. She did not have the time to receive the plot and memories. Point 2. Xiaoling lay beside him and felt uncomfortable all over. She did not answer his words. She looked at the palace maids who were guarding outside the hall and wanted to give orders. And before her, the man seemed to have also wanted to be with her. As soon as he got up, he had already put on his outer robe and walked in front of her. Xiaoling's gaze followed the man and looked at his tall and handsome back. The moonlight penetrated through the gap above the wooden window and illuminated the man's body. His figure was tall and slender, and his shoulders were slightly wide. It could be seen that he had practiced martial arts, so his body was slender and sturdy, and his aura was extraordinary. Point 2. She was the Empress, so he must be the Emperor of this dynasty. Roughly guessing from the back view of this world, Xiaoling watched the man's figure disappear into the darkness. She withdrew her gaze and followed him. Point 2. Not long after, she smelled some sulfur. The breeze was moist like a hot spring in this palace. Xiaoling hurriedly got up. She wrapped herself in a robe and went inside, wanting to wash off the sweat on her body. As soon as the two of them got up, the palace maids outside quietly entered and tidied up the bed. Xiaoling was quite satisfied with this kind of automatic manual service that did not require any instructions. However, usually there would be people following her wherever she went, so she might be impatient. Point 2. There were palace lanterns hanging on both sides. The palace layout was very large. She walked a few steps, but she could not see the man's figure or the direction in front of her. When she got closer, she felt a breeze. Walking out, she saw the inner hall that was connected to the north and south. It should be the time for spring and summer to pass. Flowers were growing outside the inner hall. As the man's figure disappeared, Xiaoling walked into the inner hall. The breeze, accompanied by the smell of sulfur, entered Xiaoling's nose at a close distance. A hot spring that was repaired in the room entered Xiaoling's eyes as she approached. In just a moment, the man had already entered the water. He sat on the white jade steps in the corner. The hot spring water went up to his waist. He lazily rested in that corner. His gaze fell on Xiaoling's body and landed on her feet. Xiaoling paused, thinking about whether she should go over or find another place. Isn't the Empress coming to take a bath? The deep male voice suddenly spoke. Point 2. It seemed that the relationship between the original owner and this emperor was not at the level of a couple taking a bath, right? Xiaoling hesitated for a moment, but decided to avoid the man and find another place to enter the pool. She did not know what kind of material was laid on the floor, but it looked soft and comfortable to step on with bare feet. She followed the direction of the man, her figure graceful. The man stared at her for a long time, and only when she entered the water did he look away. It was said that the supreme, far bright moon was the closest relative to the estranged couple. Point 2. As an emperor couple, Xiaoling felt that their relationship was even more complicated between the emperor and the body Xiaoling was wearing. Point 2. The man treated her as a prop and placed her in the position of the empress, but he ignored her from the bottom of his heart. Such feelings were not only estranged, but also carried hatred, right? Asterisk. Beside the hot spring pool was a gorgeous pillar. The pillar was engraved with pictures, but it was also inlaid with a luminous pearl the size of a baby's fist. Although this luminous pearl was not as valuable as the one on the palace bed, it was better in quantity. Point 2. The golden dragon head spat out the hot spring water. Point 2. The man and the woman each occupied a corner of the hot spring pool and sat there quietly, as if the other party did not exist. Point 2. After making sure that he would not come and harass her for the time being, Xia Ling closed her eyes and leaned against the corner of the hot spring pool, beginning to absorb the memories. Point 2. Asterisk. The original owner of the body she was wearing this time was called Shangwan Ling. She was the empress of the Xia dynasty. Point 2. Shangwan Ling came from a Miao Gu family. Because her mother had saved the late emperor's life, she, a 25-year-old girl, married into the royal family and became Yin Tingyan's empress. Point 2. The wedding was held in a hurry. Yin Tingyan had only met Shangwan Ling once, but she did not take it to heart. Point 2. Shangwan Ling had only met him once, but she had fallen in love with Yin Tingyan. Point 2. She was a proud person and ordinary men would not be interested in her. However, Yin Tingyan's eyes were deep and filled with the domineering air of an emperor. His entire person was resolute and measured, just enough to satisfy all of Shangwan Ling's aesthetic standards. Shangwan Ling did not care about Yin Tingyan's status. She only cared about Yin Tingyan. Point 2. However, she had become the empress, and there were 3,000 beauties in the harem. Yin Tingyan could not only pamper her, too. The Miao Gu aristocratic family came from a remote southwest region. The customs there were unknown to the royal family. Point 2. Therefore, Shangwan Ling raised many bugs, poured blood from her heart every day, and finally raised a love gu. Point 2. She gave Yin Tingyan a love gu. From then on, Yin Tingyan could only like her and have sex with her. Yin Tingyan was never a man who owed anything to the Central Valley. The former emperor had taken over the country from the Ji family to Yin Tingyan, and the entire Xia dynasty was in full swing. He was busy with court politics all day and did not have the inclination to take care of the harem. Point 2. Not having the inclination did not mean that he was not normal. Point 2. All of a sudden, he became a cripple. Even an ordinary man would be scared. Point 2. Yin Tingyan secretly invited many imperial physicians to treat his illness. When Shangwan Ling heard the news, she directly invited Yin Tingyan to her palace. She cut her arm and let the love gu crawl out of her body for Yin Tingyan to see. The love gu of the Miao Gu was a gu that was given to her husband by her wife. It listened to the intentions of the person who gave it to her, so that her husband would never betray her. Point 2. As the emperor, Yin Tingyan protected his pride, and yet he was controlled by a woman. He was extremely angry and ordered Shangwan Ling to be locked up. He also sent people to the Miao Gu family to find a way to cure the gu. Point 2. However, there was no way to remove the gu. Yin Tingyan deposed her as the empress and imprisoned her in the Phoenix Perch Palace. He would rather die than touch her again. Point 2. If that was the case, Shangwan Ling also believed that love would grow over time. Point 2. If she was the only woman in the harem who could seduce Yin Tingyan, then she still had a chance to get Yin Tingyan's affection. Point 2. Even if Yin Tingyan hated her, she could wait. She could only give birth to his child. If 1 year was not enough, then 10 years might be. If 10 years were not enough, then 20 years might do it too. When both of them stopped moving, he could at least like her, right? However, things were not as good as Shangwan Ling thought. In the second year after Shangwan Ling gave Yin Tingyan the love gu, the western regions sent a beauty over. The beauty had ice and snow as her muscles, and the bright moon as her posture. She was beautiful and charming, but her personality was delicate and soft. She also knew many strange things. With the help of the beauty, Yin Tingyan first solved the difficult problems in court politics. Then, he broke Shangwan Ling's voodoo. Point 2. Without the restriction, Yin Tingyan did not hesitate to throw Shangwan Ling into the cold palace. He even sent people to guard her to prevent her from making strange things. And on the night that she was thrown into the cold palace, the entire palace was hung with red lanterns. This was a sign that Yin Tingyan was going to help that beauty become the empress. That night, Shangwan Ling had taken poison. She was someone who could not tolerate sand in her eyes. If she were to see Yin Tingyan and that beauty loving each other, she would choose to die. And after Shangwan Ling died, Yin Tingyin and the beauty joined hands and grew old together. Asterisk. Xiao Ling received the plot and the original owner's memories. By the time she opened her eyes, she was the only one left in the hot spring pool. Yin Tingyin was really cold. When he left, he did not leave a single sound. Xiao Ling came out of the hot spring pool, wiped the water off her body, and put on a red dress. Then, she held a lamp and walked around the Phoenix Perch Palace Point 2. The Phoenix Perch Palace was gorgeous and spacious, divided into two palaces. The front palace was the sleeping palace, and the back palace was the hot spring pool. The tall palace walls surrounded the Phoenix Perch Palace. Standing inside the palace walls, Xiao Ling looked up. Under the moonlight, the night sky seemed to be imprisoned by the palace walls. Point 2. Your Majesty, His Majesty invited Your Majesty to the back garden for a gathering. 2. In the dark, a timid palace maid walked out from the side. The palace maid reported respectfully, and Xiao Ling glanced at her. The palace maid shuddered. Lead the way, Xiao Ling said. Point 2. The palace maid. Yes, 2. The palace maid turned around to lead the way. Under the moonlight, Xiao Ling could see that there was an ugly, centipede-like scar on the palace maid's face, from her face to her neck. It was a burn, but it looked like it had happened a long time ago. The scar was an old purple-brown color. Xiao Ling looked away. If she remembered correctly, this burn scar was the result of the original owner's actions towards the palace maid, right? 2. This palace maid was called Xiao Ji, and she was quite good-looking. Because Yin Tingyin took a few more glances, in front of Yin Tingyin, Shangwan Ling directly poured a cup of hot tea on Xiao Ji's face and forbade Xiao Ji to apply medicine. Shangwan Ling had done all these evil deeds, and it was difficult to write a book. Thinking carefully about what Shangwan Ling usually did, even Xiao Ling herself felt that if she were Yin Tingyin, she would not have liked Shangwan Ling at all. It was Yin Tingyian's mercy that meant she was not disgusted enough to poison the maid and let her die. 2. Did Shangwan Ling grow up eating bullies? Her brain was damaged from eating bullies. The more she liked Yin Tingyin, the more she did things to oppress him. Point 2. Whether it was in front of Yin Tingyian's disgraced palace maids or at the palace banquet, she opened her mouth to mock and criticize the concubines who had entered the palace but had never been favored by Yin Tingyin. In the early years of Yin Tingyian's life, the imperial advisor of the Imperial Observatory had calculated that sexual intercourse was not allowed before the age of 25. Otherwise, the fate of the great Xia dynasty would be cursed. Point 2. Therefore, other people had sex when they were in their teens, but Yin Tingyin remained a virgin until he married Shangwan Ling. When he married Shangwan Ling, he refused to consummate the marriage. Previously, Shangwan Ling's personality was overbearing. Yin Tingyin did not like it, so he married the empress, but he never succeeded. After that, Yin Tingyin took in many beautiful women in the harem because he did not want to meet Shangwan Ling too. But no one expected that Shangwan Ling knew so many strange things and was bold enough to directly poison Yin Tingyin. Yin Tingyin had tried many methods and taken many medicines, but he could not force out the love goo. In the end, he could only despise Shangwan Ling, but he still did the husband and wife thing. But this night, Shangwan Ling still wanted to force herself on him. Point 2. Then Xiao Ling came. Thinking of this, the corner of Xiao Ling's mouth twitched. Shangwan Ling was really intrepid. Even the emperor could not handle her. Fortunately, every time Xiao Ling's shoe entered the interface, the Demon King's spirit soul would enter at the same time. Otherwise, Xiao Ling would be very unhappy if the Demon King in this world was forced by Shangwan Ling, although the system was fighting with her. However, in the storyline, the system would also help her to accept the point that she would not be unclean physically. Point 2. The Demon King and she could only have each other. This was an unchanging law. Otherwise, if the Demon King had a relationship with another woman, Xiao Ling would despise it to the point of not wanting it. This was the bottom line. There was no other way. Point 2. Asterisk. In the original storyline, this consummation night was the wedding night of Yin Tingyin and Shangwan Ling. It was not very pleasant. Point 2. Yin Tingyin had carelessly settled the matter, while Shangwan Ling was overbearing and displeased. But now that she thought about it, she still remembered that after she came, they were still okay. Point 2. Xiaoling narrowed her eyes slightly, and a small train started to run in her mind. Host, can you think of something healthy and positive? The system could not bear it any longer. Point 2. When it came to this world, its mind was filled with thoughts of color. It really could not stand it. Asterisk. Along the way, she recalled the plot and memories. Xiao Ling walked lazily, not paying attention to where she was. Point 2. If it was in another harem, she might have been framed, too. But in Yin Tinjian's harem, she was the biggest bully and the most powerful villain. Even if she had intruded into a place she shouldn't have, no one would dare to harm her. Point 2. Killing her was equivalent to killing Yin Tingyan. Who would dare to harm her, too? The night wind blew, and they reached the imperial garden. Your Highness, this servant will take her leave. The palace maid's voice woke Xia Ling up. Point 2. She pulled herself out of her thoughts and looked in front of her. Under the moonlight, Yin Tingyan was wearing a black brocade robe. His tall figure was seated behind a stone table in the pavilion. Point 2. There were snacks on the stone table and a pot of wine. The man's figure was hidden in the pavilion. Xiao Ling could feel a deep gaze on her. That deep gaze made Xiao Ling's eyes move. Point 2. She walked over and bowed. Without waiting for instructions, she directly sat on the stone bench on Yin Tinjian's left hand and propped up her face to look at the man. Your Majesty, why did you invite me here to admire the moon? 2. Whether it was sitting on her own or calling himself, it was very unruly behavior. Point 2. However, Sheng Wanling had always done so. She was arrogant and despotic. She called these the customs of the Miao Gu aristocratic family. Xiao Ling hated the kneeling ceremony in the palace the most. She imitated it and was even more at ease, too. Yin Tingyan poured 2 cups of wine. I want to talk to you, too. Talk about what? About what happened in the palace just now. Xiao Ling smiled, but she lowered her tone and leaned close to Yin Tinjian's ear to tease him. Point 2. The woman breathed and inhaled beside his ear. Yin Tinjian's hand that was pouring the wine trembled. His scar was exposed. His expression changed. He was a little unhappy, but he endured it in embarrassment. Point 2. Sheng Wanling. Yin Tinjian's face was thin, and he was extremely embarrassed. Can you be more shameless? 2. What face? Can I eat or wear it? Xiao Ling did not care. Point 2. Yin Tingyan was really defeated by her. He had never seen such a vicious and shameless woman in his life. Point 2.